What's up, guys? Go back to our video where we just got Hawkeye episode 4 and it was amazing. It showed us more chemistry between Kate and Clint, and the chemistry in this episode was like awesome. And we especially got to learn more about like Jack and Eleanor's relationship, and see if they're like behind anything, and they're behind the murder of Armand, and especially they have like a relationship with each other. And with this episode, they revealed something a bit like a twist. I totally sets up the next couple episodes, and that mystery character reveal I totally sets up for what's to come in the future of the show, and possibly in the next final episodes as well, especially for Kingpin as well. So in this video, this will be my breakdown for Hawkeye episode 4, but if you have not seen the episode, there are going to be a major spoilers if you're trying to avoid them. But if you're still here and you don't care, let's get into it. So this episode starts right where it left off, where Kate and Clint were at the Bishop penthouse, and they were going to look into the Bishop's securities, and then they were hacked in, and then they get busted by Jack, who was holding up the rolling sword up to Clint. And then when Eleanor walked in, she asked, "And what was the Avenger doing in my living room?" And plus, when Eleanor was referring to Clint as an Avenger, if she knew like Clint is already an Avenger. Next, we see Kate and Clint having a conversation with Jack and Eleanor at a table, and with Eleanor just finding out Kate really hacked into the Bishop's security files, and with Kate saying that like she's trying to like solve an actual case with it's an actual case with actual people who are in actual danger, and with Eleanor saying and mentioning an Avengers level threat. It was heard that probably from a Mysterio from Far From Home, and with the words of Avengers level threat coming from Eleanor Bishop, who we definitely know who is the Avengers level threat, who is like Kingpin, who is set up to be in the next couple of episodes as well. But I definitely think like Eleanor is somehow behind this somehow. Then, as we see, as Eleanor is walking Clint out, she mentions to Clint that Kate is not an actual superhero, which Clint already knows, which Eleanor is saying that Natasha Romanoff was pretty good, wasn't she? And then we get the mention of Natasha Romanoff, aka, Black Widow, plus we already it was already mentioned and referenced back in the very first episode in Rogers the musical, when like Clint took one look at Black Widow, referencing the death of Black Widow, who was very close to Clint. Then we see Clint texting his wife Laura, "Can you please run a salon for me, please, at LTD?" With the words salon, this was like at the end of the last episode, which like Clint and Kate were breaking into the Bishop penthouse, and they were researching up the database, and then it pulled up like Cassie that works for salon, and he's asking his wife to run it, which Cassie is very connected to Echo. Which like Echo like could be connected to this like somehow with the murder of Armand, or connected to Kingpin. Next, we hear Laura saying to Clint in like very German, in which she says everything else go missing from the compound, and then Clint responds to saying the Rolex wasn't destroyed years ago, and with Laura Barnes saying something in German about like anything else going missing from the compound, which means like either like she knows about the compound, and with the word like mention of compound, and which is like definitely from the Avengers compound, like mentioned even from the keychain from the last episode. And with the Clint, he's probably gonna go rescue the Rolex to go and get it back. And then next, we see Kate with Eleanor mentioning and saying that like Kate is definitely obsessed with Clint Barton ever since the attack. She's always been confident. And what Eleanor is referring to is getting the very first episode for when Kate was like just a little girl from her childhood, and she was watching the Battle of New York, but between Loki versus the Chitauri happening right in front of her, and that's when she knows like Clint Barton. Jack says saying that like he's like her idol. Next, we see Clint actually have some ice packs on his body because he's seriously hurt and is trying to put some ice packs on his body to heal himself. And then we see Key walking in and try to cheer Clint up and Holy Spirit. And then we see an Easter egg for the Santa Claus with a DVD copy of the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. And then we hear the mention of Clint saying to Key of how he found a little dig and how it reveals that like the Salon Limited is like a company that launders money for the tracksuits, and that like Jack, like Eleanor's fiance, is like the CEO. So that means Jack is definitely behind everything, or somehow, or connected to the Kingpin, or connected to the murder, or to Salon Limited, or for the tracksuits, or for the tracksuit mafia. And then we see Clint drinking from his mug that says Thanos was right. This is also a reference back to the very first episode when Clint and his kids were attending a showing of Rogers the musical, and he saw like a urinal that says that Thanos was right, and then it's a little reference reminder, like Thanos was right after 5 years. Thanos was still capable. Next, we see Kate and Clint talking about how they're going to take down the tracksuit mafia, which is an organized crime ring, which Jack, Eleanor's fiance, Kate's future stepdad, is a part of. And then we see kind of see Kate and Clint's chemistry a little bit. I kind of like the chemistry a little bit in the scene while they're decorating the tree for the holidays. And then like Clint does the most awesome thing, the coolest thing, by like flicking a coin at the TV and turning it off. And then like Kate tries to like show her like how to do that, and then with Kate, like, she flicks the coin to turn the TV on, which was pretty cool to see. Then we hear Clint saying to Kate on how like he met someone and that like he had to take her out, but then when he wanted to kill her, like she wanted out. This is referring to Natasha Romanoff, of course, of Kaylee, referring to it as well. This is also referenced back in the very first Avengers film when Black Widow was visiting Loki in a cell, and like Black Widow mentioned how Agent Barton was sent to kill her. This is like a nice reference to Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. And then Kate mentioned the Clinton and his whole family was vanished like by the blimp, so that his family got blimped, and that like Clint said yes, his family got blimped unlike half the world. This is referring to the opening scene from Avengers Endgame when Clint noticed that like half his family got like vanished and dusted from Thanos' snap, calling the blimp, which is also referenced here in this episode, which was a pretty devastating as well as what Clint went through it in the 2-year gap from Avengers Endgame up until now. Then, right before Clint is about to go to bed, he turns his hearing aid off, and then we start to get some flashbacks. I see he started to get some flashbacks as well from like scenes from Avengers Endgame, from the opening scene as to when his family got snapped by the blimp, and we hear a voiceover from Natasha saying, "Killing all those people won't bring your family back." We're referencing to the time in Tokyo when Clint was dressed up as Ronin, killing all these people, trying to get answers to why his family got snapped and what happened, and with Clint having all these flashbacks and what he's done for the 5-year gap from when his family got snapped, and from what Clint has also been going through between a 2-year gap of what happened. Then a flashback to Natasha's death when she sacrificed herself from the Soul Stone, and then like Clint watched her die, which was like pretty tragic. And with all these references to it, and then Natasha Romanoff and Cable, this is definitely seemed like devastating to Clint of what he's been suffering through and what he's going through as well. Then we see Keith going to the Larbers who we last saw in episode 2 when Clinton was participating in like a like a battle to get his Ronin suit back, and with her mentioning that like Hawkeye's arrows are on the NYPD near the Manhattan Bridge, and plus like they need to get to those Hawkeye's trick arrows for evidence tampering, and which is probably connected to the tracksuit mafia. Then we see Clint interrogating Kazuya in the car, telling him about the whole Rolex situation and how he's been working for under many different names, including William Lopez, including Maya Lopez for a couple years, and he mentioned like Maya's boss. This could be a reference to Kingpin, in which they've been teasing Kingpin all of the show, especially in episode 3 when Echo's dad mentioned like her uncle, and which are her uncle, like which is like Kingpin, is definitely connected to this. Then we see Clint is seeing Kate all dressed up in like a Viking outfit of how he asked her to retrieve like Clint's arrows, and then he gets a text from Laura, his wife, and then it reads the Rolex wasn't at the Avengers compound. The signaling is transmitting from this address called 3715 and Godfrey Road. That it must be from Echo's apartment, which is foreshadowed later, probably at the end of the episode, which it gets pretty crazy from there. Then, as we see, as Kate is going into the apartment building, she's going into the elevator with some other person, as like he wants help, like and she is helping him, and then they're in an elevator together, and with Kate saying to the other person that she says that she was talking to an Avenger. This is also a reference to some promo footage in which Kate was saying, "I'm working with an Avenger," in which she's saying Avenger, which like Clint is famous because he was an Avenger named Hawkeye. Which with like Kate saying this, it also means that Kate and Clint are definitely working together, and with Kate working with an Avenger who is Clint, aka Hawkeye, even though he's retired, but now he's Hawkeye again. It's probably even makes sense for Kate and Clint to work together, especially with Clint who is famous as an Avenger. Then, as we can see, as Kate is going into the apartment to retrieve the Rolex with a tag that says Avengers Compound on it, and then we see Kate revealing the most the biggest thing ever, which is like a notebook with like information on Clint's family, in which we see a picture frame of Echo and her dad, which with like a list of Clint's family names of Clint's family, which means like Clint and his family are definitely in danger because of Echo taking information from them, which Kingpin is definitely behind all this and wants us something to do with Clint and his family as well. And then this episode ends with an Echo versus Kate fight, and then on the roof we see more of the fight between Kate, Clint, and Echo, which like Kate used like an arrow, it was like a blast, and then we see someone in like a costume, and like a suit, like the mystery character, and then we get the reveal of the return of Yelena Belova from Black Widow, and spoilers if you haven't seen the Black Widow post-credit scene, and how she was in Hawkeye, she was set up by Valentina Allegro de Devante, and how she has Yelena to go after Hawkeye because she was convinced that Clint killed her sister, at which like she was there, and that's how she returned in this series, in which this always sets up the next couple episodes. And then with Clint having no clue on why Yelena is there to kill Clint, and with this, it is ending Kate and Clint's relationship, calling it like quits, and with like Kate and Clint having to split up and not be partners anymore, which is like heartbreaking. And the episode ends from there. And yeah, within this episode, I thought it had like a pretty, dark twist to it, especially with the chemistry between Kate and Clint, even though it was going very well, causing them to split up and not to become partners anymore, and especially with the return of Yelena Belova from Black Widow, and with the epic Echo versus Kate fight, and within the connections not like Jack has with this company called Salone, at which these could have connections with like Kazi, Echo, Jack, and Eleanor. It could have connections to Kingpin, who is set up to be probably in the last 2 episodes or in the next episode as well. So yeah, we're in for something like a very big, as we're about to head into the last 2 episodes of the series. Yeah, so definitely in for something big. So that's gonna be it for this video. Lovely thoughts in the comments down below, and what are your thoughts on Hawkeye episode 4? Give me a rating between 1 out of 10. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell for future videos. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter for live updates. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.